All right. I did a video the other day on a bug out bag. It was a 9-year-old bug out bag that fell out of my ceiling because the handle broke. It was an incomplete bag, and you'll see me grimacing because I kind of busted my ribs last week. I'm in a little bit of pain here, but I'm doing this for you. I hope you appreciate it. That bag was an incomplete bag, and I had forgotten what my mindset was when I did that video. And I remembered it as I was reading the comments. All that was extra gear. I've got another bag here, same thing. I'm going to go through that. I'm probably going to do a separate video on that in a bit. I've got what's here is what I call a survival shirt. I used to make those. I've got another kit here I'm going to go through as a separate video. This was a hobby for me of just taking other containers and filling with extra gear, and some of the kits are more robust than others. Also, you have to keep in mind, I'm building things to accommodate me and what my abilities are and where I'm at and what my mindset is. In the comments, look, 94.7 of the comments that you're getting when you put yourself out there on social media are coming from people that don't have the same practical knowledge I have and haven't done the same things I've done. They're coming at it from their very own specific perspective. And if you tell me you're 6 foot, 175 pounds, and this is how you would do things, well, that's you, right? What about the girl who's 125 pounds? And let's face it, most of you are fat. Most of you are way overweight. So when you're thinking about your gear, you got to think, can you even haul it? Can you do it? Can you even use the gear you're buying? Do you know how to use it? There's all this stuff, and we're going to go through that right now. But the first thing I wanted to show you was something I mentioned in that last video, where I was going to take an Alice pack, this is a pack I had built up a while ago. I do this a lot. I'll wear this I'm not doing it as often as I used to, but I used to climb up to the Hollywood sign several times a week. And I'd put 30 to 40 pounds in this pack and carry it just for the exercise. So I'm using the better heavy-duty padded straps here. I put the Marpat lid on the back. And on this one now, I have the 2 canteens I put on that came off the pack you guys saw in that last video. And a lot of the gear that was in that pack is in here now. This has got some weight to it. Now, I probably have close to 30 pounds on my back right now, give or take, maybe a little more. And there's not even any water in those canteens. I really wouldn't want to add too much more to this, but I can do it. Having said that, there's a thing, this ultralight hiking thing, and there's a whole way of thinking about all of this. And you have to also understand that knowledge weighs nothing. Comfort adds weight. This is a concept you need to understand. If you know how to do things and you can scavenge, and depending on where you are, you might not need to bring anything. There's a thing here, the Pacific Crest Trail. If you start reading about the PCT, you might stumble upon a story about this old lady. I think she was late 60s or early 70s, and she did it super ultralight and cheap. Her shelter was a shower curtain. I have done this, and I've even done videos on it. They don't exist now. It was Instagram years and years ago, where I was in the desert. I pulled off the side of the road just to take pictures, and I found enough trash on the side of the road where I could makeshift things to survive. You'll find wire, tin cans, aluminum cans, water bottles. You don't need to buy a canteen. You can use a water bottle. Canteens are just more robust, that's all. Most of you are going to be starting to build kits from stuff you already have. Most of us have this gear. If you have nothing at all, but your mind works, you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of gear. You could think in these terms. If you're in an urban setting, well, that's a different way of thinking as opposed to if you live in a rural area. If you live in an area like in the Pacific Northwest, it hurts when I lift my arm. If you live in the Pacific Northwest or the East Coast with forests and creeks and streams and rivers and lakes and all that, well, you don't really need to be carrying too much water, I don't think. A way to carry water, if you can find it, and a filter system or a way to heat water and all that, that's important. So, yeah, if I'm in an urban setting and my mind works, an empty bag is good. I'm going to find so much trash I can use. You can go through garbage cans and find gear. You can make a hobo stove from tin cans. You can find water bottles. You can find cordage. You can find an old sofa someplace, cut the fabric off neatly, take the cushion, sleep on that, use the fabric as a blanket. You're only limited by your own imagination, knowledge, practical knowledge, and in your experience. You can learn a lot from videos like this one, but you need to go out and do it. I highly recommend you having a kit for your car And depending on how far away you work from work, at some point you should practice walking home from work with that kit on. You should do that. I'm just saying, this is how you actually do things. I've done all this stuff many times in my life. I've used the gear. You'll see some of my gear. It's clearly been used. Matter of fact, when I'm home, I open every can with this. This is a broken version of this knife. I was carrying a knife exactly like this one in my pocket ever since I was in high school. 15 years old, I was carrying this pocket knife. And then I obviously had it in the Marine Corps and everything else. This is how I open all my cans. I'm proficient with this. If you want to be proficient with your gear, use it all the time. Now, you can have the mindset, which I kind of do, which is, if I take a bunch of gear, stick it in a bag, and I find myself in a bad situation, I'll learn how to use that gear. Absolutely. So that's another way of thinking. Let me get to this guy's comments on this video and respond to each one of them directly, because I think it's going to be funny for us. He wrote this out pretty much tongue-in-cheek, I think, just to have fun with me. But he made some points, some of which I agree with, and others I vehemently disagree with. But again, I want to point out, this is all coming from his point of view. He may or may not have all this knowledge, but it sounds like he's a strapping dude that knows how to do things. Not everybody knows how to do these things. So hang on a second, I'll be right with you. All right. You might see me reaching down to scratch my legs. I think the mosquitoes are out already. 5 years in a row now dealing with these mosquitoes. They're terrible. Anyhow, back to my video here. This was the video entitled Critiquing a 9-Year-Old Bug Out Bag. Again, I didn't think quick enough. It was off the cuff just like this one is. It was a lot of extra gear I threw in a pack. So this guy, he says, so I think YouTube put this on my recommendation videos because of van life. He's been following, looking for van life stuff. He's got his own take. Out the gate, your door has a window. The rest of security is just theater at this point. Put 4 inches of hardened steel in there. Who cares? Tap the window, reach in, twist the lock, be in. There's more security to that back door that you can't see. Also, I don't know that it's going to be like a movie where all of a sudden there's a sudden issue that happens and I can't think quick enough to harden my home. I think I'm going to see this coming, whatever it is. We don't know what, if anything, is going to happen. Maybe nothing's going to happen. But if I see something happening, I've got the tools. My van's loaded. I've got stuff in the apartment. I have blackout material, everything. I could black out the windows in my apartment, harden my doors. Nobody's getting in there if I don't want them to. Also, and this is going to sound a little crazy, but it's me. You should be used to this by now. When I first looked at my apartment, I noticed I'm in a building in the back that's a second story. There's 4 units, 2 up top, 2 in the bottom. In front of me is 2 long buildings that are single level units. I could see out over those roofs. I've got 3 killing lanes coming at me. I got the driveway, the center lane, and a walkway on the side. If I'm on the roof, I can secure that area. To my rear, I got a big parking lot. Next to me is a brick building shielding me from the main street, which is Melrose. If I'm on my back porch, I could see from these big driveways all the way to Melrose and Paramount Studios. Behind me, I could also see the other street. If I had somebody else there with me, a couple other people, that is a defensible position, 100%. And one of the reasons I picked it was that. And also I figure if anybody broke into my place and they were going to steal something, they got to walk past everybody else in front of me. So it's a very safe location for anti-theft and all of that. That's just how my mind works. I think that way. So there's that. Also, I don't think about in terms for myself personally of bugging out right away. My thinking is if something weird happens, power goes out. I think more along the lines of EMP sort of thing. The power goes out, or there's some major earthquake, or there's riots, that sort of thing. My plan is to bug in. I plan to stay there for 3 months or so, quietly. Nobody will know I'm there if I don't want them to know I'm there. And then get out of there if I have to at that point. But I could live in my pad, in this proximity where I'm at, and find anything I need to live for a very long time from going to other people's apartments who have already left or something else happened to them. You know what I'm saying? This thing, people invent in their minds. They think it's a movie. They think there's going to be all these marauders running around and killing and raping and pillaging. I don't know if that's going to happen. Is it a genuine threat? Maybe. I will go out in a hail of bullets if that's what it takes. But I know me. If I want to survive, I will. Let's get back to this guy's comments here. He starts off gravity and friction work. 9 years on a hook, long time. Took a lot of vibration received over those doors over that time. He's talking about how the handle broke on the pack. He's trying to tell me it's not such a bad pack. I should take it easy. It's a garbage pack. It's in the garbage already. This Alice pack is already way better. So let's jump to your pack is too thick. I can feel the weight from here. He has no idea what he's talking about. It's not a very heavy pack. And again, as I've just demonstrated, as I have explained to you, up until I think about 3 years ago, there was something I did with a pack that weighed like 65, 70 pounds. I can still haul that weight. I'm 56 years old. I'm still in that kind of shape. You should be able to see that. Not that I'd want to. You should try to keep your pack no more than 40 pounds. I think the max, they say, math-wise, if you're fit, is a third of your weight. You should not exceed a third of your weight. So keep that in mind. But yes, be as light as possible. I said it earlier. Knowledge weighs nothing. Your friends come over there. They just want to come to your house. They don't want to live on berries in urban parks. Your floor holds more than your back ever could. Okay, supporting the theory of people coming to you. You go through town for a reason, not just for fun with your existence on your back. I don't know what he's talking about. The pouch and fabric alone weighs half as much as the light hammock. He's getting into this lightweight thing, and he's critiquing how I packed the bag. Again, to address this, that bag was just extra gear thrown in there. And I think I commented to him on this, just so you understand. If you start out with a bunch of gear and your pack's kind of heavy and you find yourself walking, after the first day, you're going to be like, shit, what don't I need? After the third or fourth day you've been using stuff, you'll discover what you don't need to be carrying, and you can start unloading it. You don't have to keep carrying the stuff. I like having extra gear for a couple reasons. Redundancy, which we're going to get into here in a second. You ever watch that show Alone? Many contestants have left that show because they lost their fire starter. So if you lose your Bic lighter and you don't have another way to start a fire, what are you going to do? And if you need a fire, clearly. You understand what I'm saying there? So redundancy is a good thing. Also, if you have redundancy and you run into other people, you've got barter items on you. Even if somebody just does you a favor just to promote goodwill, give them a carabiner. Give them one of your extra Bic lighters or something. People get along in bad situations. It's a nice thing to have some extra gear. That's my thought process. Gross, Nalgene, heavy. Just grab a 1 liter plastic water bottle at a gas station. Right, just walk in any gas station, even though the shit's hitting the fan and people are running around like their heads are cut off. Every 20-ounce plastic soda bottle you've ever bought is 100% durable and safe, as safe as Nalgene. That is just not true. It's not true. I have had water bottles break on me. I've had water bottles spring a leak in my van. It's a major friggin' hassle. That's a lie. It's not the truth. Just saying. There's a reason why Nalgene bottles and other canteens things exist, because water bottles are not as tough as Nalgene canteen. That's just not the truth. You can boil water in them. He's saying the water bottles. There's a way to do that if you keep them far enough from it, but I don't trust that. And when you tap on it, it's even quieter, blah, blah, blah. Okay, a Bic, 100% essential. I've smoked cigs for 20 years. Not healthy. I can light a Bic in a hurricane. Good skill to have. One for the bag, full size, but I will 100% have one me already. So you might want to pack 2. Then it runs out of gas. It will still be flint and steel for a long time. Sock fuzz makes a good woof. True, absolutely. If you got those skills, you could do it. I don't start a lot of fires in the wild these days. In the last 5 years, I've probably started at least 4 fires in the forest. And I've done it every time with spark from a ferro rod that my brother made for me. I like to practice my skills. By the way, the channel will be taking a turn as the van keeps getting more dialed in. The plan is to be doing Astro Van Adventures, where I'm going to be going out into these different places, doing a lot of this stuff, urban stuff, investigating burnout things and dilapidated buildings and all that, living off the land. I'm going to be doing a lot of more primitive type stuff, especially with the fishing and all that. And I'll show you guys all that stuff. I'm going to do things where I'm finding garbage on the side of the road and using it to make things right then and there. I didn't say it earlier in the intro part of this video, but if you are in an urban setting, some basic tools are more important than carrying the gear, because you're going to find a lot of trash. So if you got a pair of shears and a Leatherman, a way to make some holes, you can take a lot of what you find and turn it into whatever you need. Think in those terms. Something to pry open a door with. Way of thinking. Breaking and entering could be a way to survive. Mylar blanket, yeah, no, under no circumstances. Look, Mylar blankets are a funny thing. They have a lot of uses. If you start reading 411 videos watching 411, the people who disappear in the woods, there's been many instances where people have just gotten lost, just barely off a trail, didn't survive the night because of the elements. A Mylar blanket could have saved their life. So to say it doesn't mean anything is, again, dumb. It can save your life. They exist for a reason. They have saved lives. Also, you could use it as a tarp for the rain, and you could use it as a signal if you had to. If you were out in the middle of nowhere, you could take this stuff. It's flashy. It reflects the sunlight. You could do that if there's a helicopter looking for you. So there's many uses for a Mylar blanket. They don't weigh anything. They're very tiny, and they're cheap. Okay, Altoids tin, dumb, heavy. Ziploc does better. Look, Altoid tins are, if you put electrical tape around them, they're watertight. I've done it. Also, it's just a nice, convenient little thing that's hard-sided, so you can put stuff in there that won't get crushed. An Altoid survival tin is something that's been around forever. All kinds of people have been doing it. It works. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Extra flashlight, compass. He says, we all have GPS. You will bring your phone. The GPS satellites will still work. Finding north, south, east, and west is easy as sitting down for lunch. If you want to throw a nice compass in your bag, that's cool with me. Let's just be able to use it. Okay, look. You're going to bring your phone. How long is your phone going to last? How long is the charge in your phone going to last? Are you bringing an extra battery for it? A lot of you have that. How long is that going to last? Do you know you're going to be able to power the thing up? Your phone's eventually going to be dead. Now, when I was in the Corps, when I was in infantry school in particular, land navigation was something I excelled at. And every time we did it, whether we did it daytime or nighttime, the group, the three-man team I was in, we won. We got it done quicker than everybody else every single time because I took it seriously and I nailed it. I could actually use a lens-added compass, shoot azimuths, all this stuff to find my way. I know how to do it. However, you don't need to know all that stuff for a compass to be useful to you. As an example, there was a story I watched not long ago. This woman, she had her cell phone. She got lost in the forest on the East Coast. I think she was in Maine. She went off the trail to go to the bathroom and got lost. And they found text messages from her and everything, but then her phone eventually died. They never found her. They found her a year later, her remains. She was dead. She was 500 feet from the trail. Now, if you're in a heavy foliaged area and you want to go off the trail to do your business, if you got a little compass, first of all, you should just notice things. You should look around and go, oh, here's a big oak tree. I can't miss that. I know that oak tree is on the left side of this trail. I'm going to go this way. So when I go over there, I'm going to look for that oak tree again, and I know the trail's right there. You know, common sense sort of thing. However, if you got one of those little tiny compasses, you can go, okay, okay, I'm going to go right now. That's west. I'm going to go west, and you're going to count your paces. And then when you're done doing your business, you're going to take your compass and go, okay, opposite west is east. I'm going to go back east, and I'll find the trail. So something that's simple. That's simple. Also, in your pack, if you've got a plan already where you have a destination, if the crap hits the fan, you should have maps so you can read those, and a compass is helpful for that as well. Gross. I think he's talking about my canteen cup. He says, titanium cookware at Walmart is cheap. You bought the Bix, make a fire, ditch the ring. He's talking about the camp stove, which I don't know why he'd critique that. It's the best thing ever. You take that little camp stove, a little bit of kindling. You don't need to build a big fire, and that's enough to boil water. It's self-contained. That thing works. The government's been using it forever. Soldiers have been using it forever. You can't knock proven military gear. It's just dumb. And why am I going to go buy that? I mean, I had this stuff already. I bought this stuff years ago. But if you have stuff, use what you have. If you need to buy stuff, go buy it. I don't know. My dude, you have a big stop. He's talking about my redundancy for fire there. Leatherman, yeah, okay. I don't want it, but if you carry it, sure. Look, no one needs a saw. That is just ridiculous. I don't think he's ever built traps, or he does it just by whittling. But a saw is very, very useful for making traps. Plus, you don't know what else you're going to do. You don't know how long you're going to be out there. But a pair of pliers on a Leatherman, like I said earlier, a moment ago, you find trash, you got to bend metal. You can make lures out of tin cans. It's nice to have some tools if you know how to use them. Don't carry anything you don't know how to use. The knife, super cool, but never in a million years would I carry it. He's talking about the Air Force survival knife there. Sorry about the background noise. I am trying a new mic, so we'll see if you guys can even hear the background noise with this. But the helicopters fly kind of low here. You're probably used to it by now. Okay. Oh my God, Carabiners. Now here he's attacking me for the Carabiners, and he's over exaggerating. If you climbed at all, you would know that is aid. If you would, I don't know what he's saying here. Unless you are literally climbing up a sheer rock face, there's never need for a carabiner in real life. Literally ever. People who are this matter of fact when they write things are always easy to prove wrong. I'm glad you don't know why they were there. She's 40 pounds in carabiner metal in this pack alone. And then he hits all these reasons why you don't need it. If you want to hang your pack, tie the rope to the pack itself. I go under the shoulder straps and toss a line over a branch, excluding carabiner. I'm going to explain why that's not great in a second. Excuse me. Got a piece of dust down my larynx here. Super pro video. Don't get more real than this, people. All right. We will not be rappelling anywhere in a bug out situation, period. Let's not use them as metal knuckles. Could you? Maybe. Will you? Almost certainly not. You don't know, man. First of all, Carabiner's great. Let's say I have to climb something, a short rock face or something, or get up into a building. I'm not going to climb with the pack on. I'm going to want to drop a line to the pack and carry it back up. Yes, I could tie it to the pack. However, if I have a couple Carabiners, I can do a 2-point pull, which makes the pack like half its weight. So I can run a piece of 550 cord through it, pull it up that way, and the Carabiners are smooth, so they're not going to ruin the line. You can reuse the line over and over and over again. So that's what I'd be doing with it. And I don't know if I'll be rappelling out of a window or something. Of course, to do that, you'd have to have the rope to do so, I suppose. And I do have some big, heavy rope in the van, so you never know. And the knuckle thing, look, man, not everybody is you. A smaller, weaker person, especially if you don't fight, like people don't even know when you throw a punch, you're only supposed to hit with these 2 knuckles. You want to make a brick with your hands if you have to. And the truth is, you should never really hit with a full fist. You should always hit with open hands. However, if you've got a carabiner and you're not a well-trained person, that's a good thing. Boom, that can actually work. I don't know anybody who's actually done it. I've never done it, but it is a possibility. Better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. To a point. To a point. Let's see. Never in a million years. I will not be digging holes, like ever. And neither will any of you. I will crap flat on the land if I need to. He's talking about the shovel. I don't know what he's talking about here. I dig holes all the time, not just the crapping. But if I'm in the woods, I'm going to make a fire pit, I'm going to do that. There's also a way to make a fire pit where you dig a bit of a hole, a divot in the ground, and then you drill through the ground to bring it up over here to feed the fire. And I forget what that's called. There's a name for it. But it makes it so that there's a lot less smoke from the fire. Indians used to do this too. And also, you should bury your crap. I mean, I have a funny thing about that. I did a video about pooping in the woods. It's more about the paper. You could crap on the ground and it will disappear after a while. You want to take your paper back with you, or at least bury the paper. But if you're going to dig a hole, just bury your poop and the paper. Also, when I was in the Corps, we dug holes all the time. You don't know the situation you're going to be in. Digging a little fighting hole, you might have to. You might have to. Also, for shelter, especially if you think you find a place and you happen to be in the forest and you might be there for a while. You find a nice place to camp in. I got to tell you, digging into the ground several feet and then getting logs and creating a roof, that's going to be a great way to live. You could build a little stove in there, a little fireplace. That's going to be a relatively good temperature and easier to heat and also or keep you cool if it's hot out. Better to dig down into the ground than build a structure on top of the ground, depending on where you're at. So you definitely could use a shovel. And again, it's also a combat weapon. Definitely, without a doubt. Walking down the road is a terrible situation. You don't know where you're at. You got nothing else to use. Take this shovel out, set it up, and carry that in your hand. Somebody starts coming at you that seems a little bit dangerous, and they see you with that, they're going to think twice, unless they're armed. Okay, dog collars. Twine is cheaper and lighter, and it holds back just as well. I don't disagree with that. However, I've been in a situation many times where it's rainy, I'm cold, my hands are frozen, and trying to untie a knot or something is a pain in the ass. Those collars with the quick snaps, boom, boom, I got my gear out, I'm already working. You're still busy trying to untie a knot. So that's my thinking there. Sawyer, he's good on the Sawyer. I'm not going to read it, but he supports that. That's the Sawyer water filtration. You should have a water filter system built into your kit. A candle I made. He's making fun of me for making the candle. So the candle, that kind of goes in line with, that's not about fire starting. The little birthday cake candles are good for fire starting, but the candle I made is more like if you set up a tarp and you're in a dark space, you can light that candle and burn it for a while if you need to see or read or do something else. Yeah, there are certain little things, like we're going to get into the baby wipes here, which it's bizarre to me he says what he's about to say. I'm going to get to this in a minute because it's just dumb. But when it comes to the candles, there are certain things you can have with you that don't take up much space, don't weigh a lot, that can go a long way to your mental, where you are mentally, your morale, keeping you happy. And if you got a nice enclosed space, candle that size with 2 wicks and actually help you warm that space. But it's more about a psychological thing there. Then he goes off on that, which is true. I've never used it, but I'm going to explain it to you. That neoprene top for the government issue canteen cup. The reason I picked it up is this. If you've done enough camping or van lifing, right? If you've worked in a tight confined area and you've had a coffee cup with liquid in it and you put it down, how often have you knocked that over? All right, I'm going to tell you right now, if you take the time to build a little fire and heat up your water and you got your coffee all made and it's perfect, or your cocoa or your alcoholic beverage or whatever, it took you all the time to find the stuff, source it, you made it, and you set it down for a second, and you go to turn to do something, you knock it over? That is horrible, man. It's horrible. And it's happened to every one of you if you've been out in the woods doing this stuff. Every single one of you have done this. So when I saw that lid, I thought, well, that's good. I could put that on there, and if I do knock it over, I'm not going to spill it. To me, that's like a dar. It doesn't weigh anything. So why are you knocking that? This guy's just looking for trouble. More lip balm. So the reason all lip balm is I actually use it. I actually use lip balm on my mustache. Keep me looking all sexy, and I'll do it for you right now. Oh, look at this. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, cheap mustache wax right there, And you guys could tell by watching my recent videos, I'm not doing this enough. I'm looking pretty scraggly, like a homeless guy, which goes into another thing. I was going to mention it here, but I might as well since I just thought of it. The gray man scenario. That's what you all want to be. You basically want to walk around like a homeless person. The military gear can be a dead giveaway. People don't like using military stuff because they figure if somebody wants to, you may be a target for somebody who wants to take you down for your gear because they're going to automatically assume you have a firearm and all that sort of thing. That's true to a certain extent, but I'll say there's so much military type gear out there these days. I don't think that's as important anymore. There's a lot of it out there. Even just fashion, it's out there. So also, you could cover this. I've actually got a whole thing of brand new burlap sacks, like giant potato sacks. I've been meaning to make kind of like an overcoat with a hood for it that would go over all my gear if I wanted to walk around like that. But I could take something like that, doesn't weigh anything, just like a spare tire in the back of a Jeep. You could put something like that, a cover over your pack, and it kind of blends it in. People can't see the gear you have hanging off your pack. It's something else to think about. The GI topper. Oh, the lip balm. So the reason I had the other little big one in that kit is I've got that other fire start kit where there's cotton in there. If you take some of that lip balm and work it into the cotton and then separate it and hit it with a spark, that's another way to start a fire. That's why I did it. Oh, geez, Matt. Now he's knocking the masks. Look, I get it. We just went through COVID. I didn't even know those masks were in there. You might be in a situation where you're in line with a bunch of people and you have to wear a mask. Or maybe you want to wear a mask because there's people around you coughing. It'll keep you from getting sick. I didn't buy a mask the whole time COVID happened. I didn't participate in that. I'm still a pureblood. Having said that, I'm always carrying at least 2 bandanas. One to blow my nose, one for my forehead if I want to tie it around to keep the sweat out of my eyes. Also, many times I've run into women friends of mine and we've been talking about stuff and they get emotional and start crying. You can hand them a nice clean hanky. It's a gentlemanly thing to do if you have one. I'm old school, man. What can I say? But I always have these. So yeah, you could tie this around your face. I've always done that for dust. And in a pinch, you could wipe your ass or something with one, which we're going to get into that again here in a second. Okay, tourniquets. He's knocking the tourniquets. Not really tourniquets. He's repeating what I said in quotes. He's talking about redundancy with the Carabiners, whatever. Chem lights, he's goofing on that, whatever. He says the 10-year-old spam should be fine. I got to tell you, man, I opened up one of those from my other pack that was 10 years old, and it was like a different color and horrible, and I wouldn't eat it. So then he's goofing on what he calls the human dog food, which is that survival thing, that white pack, the SOS food. Yeah, well, you know, it'll keep you alive. There was something else he says. I don't see it here now. Okay, sardines. He's goofing on me for the sardines. I reject you for this. That's very funny. You know, the truth is, man, if you're out and you're humping for days with all this gear, your diet probably isn't that great. And sardines with the omega-3s and the protein and everything else is really, really good for your brain. You got to keep your brain alive it'll help you think. I recommend them. It's not something I eat all the time, but it's a good survival thing. The idea of, hey, I got to get out of here in quotes, and this was enough for me to last 3 to 7 days. You can live for 3 weeks without food. Yeah, technically you can, but I give myself 1 week. He says he's 6 foot and 175 pounds. Okay. Look, you can live for 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. This is a generalization, but that's how it works. Again, I said earlier, most of you are fat. Most of you can live a lot longer than 3 weeks without eating anything. I'm talking about you right there. Get up off your ass and burn some of those calories. I feel like I need to lose weight. But that's him. That's what he thinks. So, again, it depends on where you're at. You can scavenge. You can find food. There's edible plants all around you. You just need to know what they are. I make the joke all the time where I'm walking around. I know where all the squirrels live in the neighborhood here. I grew up eating squirrel. My dad was a hunter. My dad, the first 9 years of his life was surviving World War II. 1945 to 1950 was the Greek Civil War. They took 2 kids from every village, put them into this program in Athens. It was called the Boys Army. He was part of that. Killing commies, man. Trained by British OSS and was American OSS and British SAS. Train these kids. And they did shit. 4 years away from home. He comes home when he's like 14, 15 years old. The commies came through. They killed his uncle, the school teacher, and the priest in his village, cut him up into pieces and put the body parts in front of his house because his dad was the mayor, and him and his dad went off in the hills and hid and survived. They lived. His parents put him on a boat to America by himself. 15 years old, coming to America after having that as your first 15 years of living. When I was 3 years old, my dad held a rifle to my shoulder. He's taking me hunting, living off the land. By the time I was 8, I could survive in the woods with a knife, making spring snares, throwing trout lines in the water. I mean, that's how he raised me. And that was normal for me to grow up that way. So I'm just saying, if you live in an area where you can procure food, you could do that. You'd be shocked at how much wildlife there is right here in Los Angeles. Just animals running around. If you had to eat them, you could do it. If there was no other food around, obviously. Oh my God, you did not. Yeah, please, let me carry the baby wipes. He's goofing on the baby wipes. I don't know what it screams, but it's not good. Plus its weight. A river, puddle, rain, or a leaf could make up for it. Okay, look, this guy clearly, I don't think this guy's ever been in the military. Talk to anybody who's been in combat or a bad situation where they're living out in the middle of nowhere for weeks at a time with no showers or anything. Baby wipes are a godsend. And again, huge just for your practical morale, just to be happy. And yeah, wiping your ass, wiping your face, wiping your pits. Not in that order. Yeah, I don't know how you can knock baby wipes. It's ridiculous. And again, I can carry the weight. Back to reality, the Jeep cap is cool. I wear one. I personally just pack a fleece beanie and wear a ball cap like a grown man child. Again, that's just extra gear. Your bug out bag should have stuff in it that you're not using all the time. It's extra stuff. You put it in there. It should be set up. Because you don't know the situation you're going to be in. He wears it all the time. What if he doesn't have his beanie? I hope you packed one in his bug out bag if he's got to grab that. The whoopee, he goes off on this. I have so many things to say about the word itself. Doesn't like that I use the word. I did that strictly for comic relief. You guys, I'm sure, picked up on that, where I'm cuddling it and hugging it at the end of the video. Those that know what it is and use it, to me, whoopee is synonymous with a child's blanket. His dad was a ranger. And as he grew older, it became synonymous with a poncho liner. That's what it is. It's a poncho liner. I have used the whoopee exclusively for the last 4 years as my only top blanket. It's no joke, the most well-beloved part of any of my kits ever. I am a stickler for weight, and I think these liners, though a little heavy, are underrated, and he believes in them. I don't know what he's talking about weight-wise. That thing doesn't weigh anything. This guy's got to be an ultra-light packer, and he's probably doing very specific things. Dear sir, that's not a hammock, but a tank. Please ditch it. So he's going off and he's making fun of the Carabiners again. Look, the hammock, actually, that thing doesn't weigh anything. It's very lightweight. And also, I don't know if I mentioned it or passed it already, but he mentions the second Mylar. When I went in, I skipped it. I must have skipped it. He goes off on the medical kit, which isn't a medical kit, that little survival kit. But at that time, I take out another, what almost looks like a Mylar blanket, but it's green. What it actually is, I should have read the package for you. That's actually a bivvy. It's a heavy-duty material bivvy sack. A bivvy sack is something that's waterproof and heavy-duty that you can slide into like a sleeping bag. Your poncho liner or whoopee inside a bivvy, you're golden, man. On the wet ground or something, you're golden. And the hammock is not just a hammock, it's a tarp. So I could take the hammock and set that up as a tarp and be in a bivvy and be golden. You can use things for more than one purpose. And again, it doesn't really weigh anything. Okay, then he goes, so a whole package of baby wipes and TP. When my ancestors came to the Americas from Europe 200 years ago, they never would have left if they didn't have at least 3 rolls of Charmin. Duh. What do you wipe your ass with, dude? Where are you? Maybe you're lucky enough to where you got the perfect plants to wipe your ass with, and you got a stream and all that. But I happen to live in the Southwest. A lot of my driving is out in the desert. There's no water out there, all right? And again, it doesn't take up that much weight. Personally, I like having a clean ass. I don't know about you. Probably a lot of you. Can you imagine the track marks this guy's got in his underwear? I don't even want to think about it. Now, having said that, I recently put a bidet in my apartment. It's changed my life. I love it. I love having a bidet. So much so, I haven't used this yet. This is a pressurized water container. You pump this thing up, and this thing will actually spray water. I did this so if I needed to, I can actually use this to clean my own ass or give myself a shower or whatever and drink water out of it. It's amazing. That's how serious I am about that sort of thing. That's just me, man. If you want to walk around with ass crusted to your, ass, with poop crusted along your ass cheeks and everything, that's your prerogative, man. Not me. They taught us that in the Marines, Hygiene is very important. Okay, if you want it, that's okay. I would never carry it, though. A hatchet is something you give to a kid to wear him out, not be used seriously. I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but I'm going to go over that right now. Here is a tomahawk. I'm more of a tomahawk guy. You guys might remember years ago I made these custom handles. They're laminated, and so they're almost unbreakable. I designed this, had it made by H&B Forge, and what I like about a tomahawk, I can separate this, so I can keep this in the pack. Now this here, when it's nice and sharp, you can process animals with it, use it like an ulu, crack things open, use it as a hand tool. And you can have this, I put holes in it so I can tie it or quickly strap it to the pack to carry, but also, it's a blunt force instrument. You should look up FBI statistics and learn more people are killed in this country with blunt force instruments than knives or firearms. More people are stabbed than shot as well. This right here is very lightweight, and it can save your life. So that's my whole thing. I had bought this back in the 80s, and I think it was a cold steel product back then. And I did this bird's head thing years ago, and then I went out in the woods and used it, and I found I didn't like it. And so I changed my design to having just this little divot here. And that's so when it slides down my hand, I feel that, and I grab tighter right there, and I won't just drop it, the tool. That's my thinking on that. But if you look here, I put a little divot in here with a knife. You know, I just carved that in. And that was for the hammock. So I could put that between the lines behind my head, and keep the hammock from closing in too much on my head. And this works. I've had many comfortable nights sleeping in a hammock with this separated from the handle, and this handle spreading those lines. So yes, chopping wood, processing wood, but also, again, with a tomahawk, there are all these different things you can use it for. It's multi-use. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. And I've used it. Look at this thing. This thing has been used. Chopped a lot of wood with that. What else? Okay, more cheap masks. Okay, I refer to, again, 1 liter plastic bottle. He's talking about the water bottles again. And all right, that's it. The less you bring, the more you can find, and all you need to stay warm, dry, and fed. Carabiners were never part of that equation. I'll check for grammar later. Anyhow, I thought this was great because it gave me a chance to talk to you guys and address these points and help you understand what my thinking behind this stuff. And I hope I answered a lot of this for you. I hope it was informative. Let me check the time on this. If there's enough time, this is probably very long already. This will probably be the end of this video. If it is, I'm going to sign off right here. Thanks for being here. Stay tuned. There's going to be more. I'm going to go over this pack a little bit. I'm going to open this pack up and this other one in the next video. And that's what we're going to do. So have a great day. Thanks for being here. Stick around for part 2.